It's 4 chapters. One of them's kind of long, but the rest are should be a breeze going through. And the only one that's long is this one right here, talking about the day of Simon. And we'll go ahead and get into that because that's coming up this month. Technically, it's next calendar month. It's in May, but it's this month according to God's calendar. All right, so we'll go ahead and start with verse 1. It says, "Now when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it." Now this Tryphon is Diodotus Tryphon. All right. Lived this time period specifically is around the 140s, I think it is 140s BC. All right, to destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear. He went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together and gave them exhortation, saying, "Ye yourselves know what great things I and my brethren in my father's house have done for the laws and the sanctuary, the battles also, and troubles which we have seen, by reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone." So out of those 5 brethren, the sons of Mattathias, Simon's the only one left. Everyone else has died in battle of some sort. All right. Now, therefore, be it far from me that I should spare mine own life in any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren. Doubtless I will avenge my nation and the sanctuary and our wives and our children, for all the heathen are gathered to destroy us of very malice. Right. And that's what we saw all throughout the book of the Maccabees. It's the Greeks. The Greeks constantly was always trying to fight against Jerusalem, always trying to fight against God and his people. All right. Now, as soon as the people heard these words, their spirit revived. Right. So Simon had a little bit of that spirit of the Maccabees left in him. Right. Simon was always a wise man of counsel, though. And they answered with a loud voice, saying, "Thou shalt be our leader instead of Judas and Jonathan thy brother." Right. Because Judah Maccabeus was the captain of the people. And I believe, what was Jonathan? I think Jonathan was called maybe Cassie, something like that. But the point is, Jonathan took over after Judas. We've been reading about Jonathan for the past couple of weeks. He died last week when we read that. And now Simon's going to take over. "Fight thou our battles, and whatsoever thou command us, that will we do." So then he gathered together all the men of war and made haste to finish the walls of Jerusalem, and he fortified it round about. Also he sent Jonathan the son of Absalom, and with him a great power to Joppa, who casting out them that were therein remained there in it. All right. So y'all know that we like looking at the maps here. I was looking at something else over here. Because in the we'll probably bring that out a little bit next week. In the original King James version, in the 1611 edition, some of them you'll find like genealogies in the beginning of them. In the beginning of those, like I think they only do that for the 400 anniversary editions. I think that's the only one that they printed here recently, where you find the this is the map of the Greek times though, where you find the genealogies in the front. I got them scanned off the internet. But yeah, we might get into some of those next week when it comes into when we talk about what happened after the book of the Maccabees on into Christ period. All right. But anyway, he said that he sent men from he sent Jonathan the son of Absalom from Jerusalem. Obviously Jerusalem is here over into Joppa. You see Joppa right there, that coastal city. We talked about the coastal city a little bit. And here's Ptolemais right up here. So when Tryphon coming down from Ptolemais, that's where Tryphon coming from. He coming down to the south. All right. Let's see where he's headed. Yes. So Tryphon removed from Ptolemais with a great power to invade the land of Judea, and Jonathan was with him in ward, in prison, right? So we see that he didn't go through the land right here to invade Judea. He went by sea and went down to Joppa. All right. All right. But Simon pitched his tents at Adida over against the plain. All right, so do we see Adida? Yes. So he pitched camp right here. All right. To stop Tryphon from moving from Joppa down into Jerusalem. All right. Now, when Tryphon knew that Simon was risen up instead of his brother Jonathan and meant to join battle with him, he sent messengers unto him, saying, Whereas we have Jonathan thy brother in hold, it is for money that he is owing unto the king's treasure concerning the business that was committed unto him. Wherefore now send 100 talents of silver and 2 of his sons for hostages, that when he is at liberty he may not revolt from us, and we will let him go. Hereupon Simon, albeit he perceived that they spake deceitfully unto him, yet sent he the money and the children, lest peradventure he should procure to himself great hatred of the people. You see that right there? So Simon knew that this was a trap, knew this was a trick, and he was a wise man of counsel. But he said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and listen to his demands so that the people don't think, so that the people don't turn against me. Because obviously the people had a great love for Jonathan. They wanted to recover him at all costs. They didn't understand that this was a trap. All right. And even if he would have explained that this was a trap, they might not have believed him, right? They would have been mad at Simon. All right. Lest peradventure he should procure to himself great hatred of the people, who might have said, because I sent him not the money and the children, therefore Jonathan is dead. So he sent them the children and the 100 talents. Howbeit Tryphon dissembled, neither would he let Jonathan go. And after this came Tryphon to invade the land and to destroy it. You went round about by the way that leadeth unto Adora. But Simon and his host marched against him in every place, wheresoever he went. Let's see if we see Adora on this map. I don't know if, because he had to go around. It said that he went around. So I don't see Adora. Let me see. That does not look like Adora. That looks like Adasa. I don't see Adora. Yeah, I could be looking over it. Y'all know I've done that a time or two. Is just look over some words, but I don't think this is it. Might be, but I don't think that's it. It seems a little too close. Yeah, perhaps it's not. No, here it goes. Yeah, see, that makes a lot more sense. Here's Adora. So instead of, let me zoom out. Instead of them trying to come this way, Tryphon that is, instead of them trying to come this way, they saw that there was a garrison. They had to remove all the way down here and try to come up through the north, but they got fought at Adora. All right. But Simon and his host marched against him in every place, wheresoever he went. Now they that were in the tower sent messengers unto Tryphon, to the end that he should hasten his coming unto them by the wilderness, and send them victuals. They said, look, you can sneak up through this route. All right, please send us help, right? Because Simon is trying to rid all the heathen and the wicked out of the tower. All right, that is by Jerusalem. Wherefore Tryphon made ready all his horsemen to come at night, or to come that night. But there fell a great snow. But there fell a very great snow, by reason whereof he came not. So he departed and came into the country of Gilead. I believe this is the same as Gilead. All right. If I'm not mistaken, that Gilead is the same as Gilead. All right. So he tried to come up through this wilderness of Tekoa, right? But there was so much snow, he had to flee over into Gilead, over in this region. As you see, Gilead right there. So it's I'm gonna go ahead and just exit out of that so we can get rid of all those marks on it. So yeah, we'll come back to it if we need to. All right. And when he came near to Bascama, he slew Jonathan, who was buried there, who was buried in Bascama. Do we see Bascama? So obviously we know that he didn't keep him alive. Jonathan technically died here, but he was captured all this time. So, I mean, I don't see Bascama. Perhaps it's in the land of Gilead. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, perhaps it's in the land of Gilead. I'm not quite sure, though. I don't see Bascama. Afterward, Tryphon returned and went into his own land. Then sent Simon and took the bones of Jonathan his brother and buried them in Modin, the city of his fathers. Okay, so we know that he got buried in Modin, and Modin is up here. Where is Modin? I know I've seen it on here. Here we go. Here's Modin, northwest of Jerusalem. That's where all of them were from. All of Mattathias and his sons were from Modin. All right. The city of his fathers, and all Israel made great lamentation for him and bewailed him many days. Simon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father and his brethren, and raised it aloft to the site with hewn stone behind and before. Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids, one against another, for his father and his mother and his 4 brethren. All right, so that's a total of 7 when you count Simon as well. So that he made something for his whole family there, made pyramids for his whole family there. And yeah, the Israelites always had knowledge on how to build pyramids because, we had our origins in Egypt, and Egypt's famous for its pyramids. You wonder why you go all over the world and you see a whole bunch of pyramids. It's because Israelites are all over the world. All right, you see pyramids in Southeast Asia, you see pyramids in Central America, you see pyramids everywhere because Israelites are everywhere. And in these he made cunning devices, about the which he set great pillars, and upon the pillars he made all their armor for perpetual memory, and by the armor ships carved, that they might be seen of all that sail on the sea. All right. So, yeah, he built some wonderful things there at the sepulchre. This is the sepulchre which he made at Modin, and it standeth yet unto this day. Now, I don't know if it still stands today, but it stood at the time of when the scribes wrote this down. All right. Now, Tryphon dealt deceitfully with the young king Antiochus and slew him. And he rebelled in his stead and crowned himself king of Asia and brought a great calamity upon the land, right? That's Diodotus Tryphon, Diodotus, Diodotus Tryphon, all right? This is around the 140s BC. Maybe we're in the 130s, but I think it's 140s. And he reigned in his stead and crowned himself. Oh yeah, I just read that. And brought a great calamity upon the land. Then Simon built up the strongholds in Judea and fenced them about with high towers and great walls and gates and bars and laid up victuals therein. Moreover, Simon chose men and sent to King Demetrius to the end he should give the land an immunity, because all that Tryphon did was to spoil, right? Was to take all the resources. So Simon tried to make peace with Tryphon. Unto whom King Demetrius answered and wrote after this manner. Oh, excuse me. He tried to make peace with Demetrius because of all the wicked things that Tryphon was doing. This is Demetrius II Nicator, Nicator. I believe that's how you spell it. But this is Demetrius II. All right. Unto whom King Demetrius answered and wrote after this manner. King Demetrius, unto Simon the high priest and friend of kings, as also unto the elders and nation of the Jews, sendeth greeting. The golden crown and the scarlet robe, which ye sent unto us, we have received, and we are ready to make a steadfast peace with you. Yea, and to write unto our officers to confirm the immunities which we have granted. And whatsoever covenants we have made with you shall stand, and the strongholds which ye have built it shall be your own. As for any oversight or fault committed unto this day, we forgive it, and the crown tax also, which ye owe us. And if there were any other tribute paid in Jerusalem, it shall no more be paid, right? So Simon is confirming his tax exempt status among at least Demetrius and his kingdom. It shall no more be paid. And look, who are meet among you to be in our court? Let them be enrolled, and let there be peace betwixt us. Thus the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel in the 170th year. That is the 170th year of the Greeks' rulership. Then the people of Israel began to write in their instruments and contracts in the first year of Simon the high priest, the governor and leader of the Jews. In those days Simon camped against Gaza and besieged it round about. He made also an engine of war and set it by the city and battered a certain tower and took it. All right, so you should know where Gaza is. It's all in the news. Gaza right there, all right? Right there along that coast. South of Israel, or south of Judea, I should say. And they that were in the engine leaped into the city, whereupon there was a great uproar in the city. insomuch as the people of the city rent their clothes and climbed upon the walls with their wives and children, and cried with a loud voice, beseeching Simon to grant them peace. And they said, Deal not with us according to our wickedness, but according to thy mercy. So Simon was appeased toward them, and fought no more against them, but put them out of the city, and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were, and so entered into it with songs and thanksgiving. So I've said this before, but the Maccabees were not bloodthirsty. They were not just warmongers. All right, they weren't just killing to be killing. It was all to an end, and when people were willing to make peace, they were willing to make peace. All right, and I keep saying it. It was all just to fight for righteousness. That's all it was, to fight for the Most High. All right. With songs of thanksgiving, yea, he put all uncleanness out of it, and placed such men there as would keep the law, and made it stronger than it was before, and built therein a dwelling place for himself. Right, so he got a house there. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, meaning lack of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. Right, so the people in the Tower of Jerusalem would rather die than keep the commandments of God. All right, and they were so wicked. They said, "Look, we'd rather die up here in our heathen customs than come down and try to make peace with the people." Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them. Which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from thence, he cleansed the tower from pollutions. You see that right there? So the ones who did want the peace, Simon allowed them to have peace. He said, just get out of here. Just go somewhere else. Because we don't want wickedness in the land. All right. Then cried they, so I just read that. He cleansed the tower from pollutions and entered into it the 23rd day of the 2nd month, in the 171st year, with thanksgiving and branches of palm trees, and with harps and cymbals and and with vowels and hymns and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. All right, so that is the 23rd day of the 2nd month. Right now, we are in technically what is the 2nd day of the 2nd month. We just come off the back of the new moon. All right, 2nd night of the 2nd month, if you want to be specific, but. He ordained also that day should be kept every year with gladness. You see that right there? So we keep that day, the day of Simon. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower, he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Simon saw that John his son was a valiant man, he made him captain of all the hosts, and he dwelt in Gezerah. I don't know if Gezerah is on here. We got Gorara. I don't think that's the same. Could be. But I know he was just talking about the Tower of Jerusalem. So it would make sense if Gezerah was somewhere around in here, but not seeing it right now. Not seeing it. Y'all know I am quick to look over something, especially with all these names that are stacked on top of each other. So forgive me if I do that, but I'm not seeing Gezerah. All right, let's get back to it though. But John is obviously, it said he was made captain of the hosts, captain of the army of the people, and it speaks of John Hyrcanus. That's his son John that I'm speaking about here. John Hyrcanus takes over after Simon Thassi. All right. Now in the 112th year, 172nd year of the Greeks' rulership, Demetrius gathered his forces together and went into Media to get him help to fight against Tryphon. But when Arsaces, the king of Persia and Media, heard that Demetrius was entered within his borders, he sent one of his princes to take him alive, who went and smote the host of Demetrius and took him and brought him to Arsaces, by whom he was put in ward, meaning in prison. As for the land of Judea, that was quiet all the days of Simon, for he sought the good of his nation in such wise as that evermore his authority and honor pleased them well. Right, so that's why we have a day dedicated to Simon. He ended up cleansing the tower in Jerusalem, and the land was peaceful after that. All right. And as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this, that he took Joppa for a haven, and made an entrance to the isles of the sea, and enlarged the borders of his nations, and recovered the country. All right, so Joppa, as we see over here, he sent Jonathan, the son of Absalom, to it in the last chapter. All right, but that's how the people of Judea, the Jews, were able to, go to different isles in the Mediterranean, and different European isles, different African, like Libya and Tunisia, Carthage as it was called at the time, was through Joppa. All right, let's get back. Recovered the country and gathered together a great number of captives, and had the dominion of Gezerah and Bethsura and the tower, out of the which he took all uncleanness, neither was there any that resisted him. Then did they till their ground in peace, and the earth gave her increase, and the trees of the field their fruit. The ancient men sat all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. You see that right there? So just because there was peace at this time doesn't mean that, the young men weren't ready to go to war. They were ready. They were trained up in this age of the Greeks, where it was common for the Greeks to just all of a sudden snap and try to come against Jerusalem. So they were ready for war. The old men, though, they had experienced the war. They had peace now. So they were, living their last days with comfort in the streets. You know how old men sometimes, go play chess in the park or whatever the case may be. That's what they were doing here. All right. It said he provided victuals for the cities and set in them all manner of munition, so that his honorable name was renowned unto the end of the world. Right. Everybody knew who Simon was. All right. He made peace in the land, and Israel rejoiced with great joy. For every man sat under his vine and his fig tree, and there was none to fray them. You see right there, they had peace. You know what I'm saying? They had the ability to sit back and relax for once. All right. Neither was there any left in the land to fight against them. Yea, the kings themselves were overthrown in those days, right? So I've been talking about this the whole time, as far as the Greek kings on some real Game of Thrones stuff, some real medieval, type stuff, where, they were always fighting against each other. All right. They were always trying to overcome each other. And it was always something with them. All right. And that's what we've been reading about. It did not stick to, first of all, you had, Alexander, what they call the Great, Alexander, the son of Philip, what the scripture calls him, who took over the whole world. But then he immediately died and left it to 4 different kings, left all his territory to 4 different kings, his generals. And then they just they didn't just stay in their own territories. After a while, their sons, their descendants, ended up fighting against each other. And that's what we've been reading about. Antiochus and his line, Alexander Bolus, Demetrius and Tryphon in this chapter. And then you also had the Ptolemies, who would fight for, land and all that kind of stuff. It was just a bunch of BS. But in these days, they all fell. All the Greek days, or all the Greek kings fell in the days of Simon. All right. Moreover, he strengthened all those of his people that were brought low. The law he searched out, and every contemner of the law and wicked person he took away. All right, because that's what has to happen whenever for righteousness to rule, all the wicked gotta go. All right, for righteousness to be in full effect, all the wicked gotta go. It is what it is. That's why Paul said, don't keep wicked people in the church. You got to kick them out. All right. We ain't killing them. We're having mercy, but you can't have wickedness around righteousness. They don't mix like oil and water. All right. He beautified the sanctuary and multiplied vessels of the temple. Now, when it was heard at Rome and as far as Sparta that Jonathan was dead, they were very sorry, right? Because Jonathan was also a man who had renown, right? His name went into all the earth as well. But as soon as they heard that his brother Simon was made high priest in his stead and ruled the country and the cities therein, they wrote unto him in tables of brass to renew the friendship and league which they had made with Judas and Jonathan his brethren, which writings were read before the congregation at Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the letters that the Lacedaemonians sent. Lacedaemonians being the Spartans. The rulers of the Lacedaemonians with the city unto Simon the high priest, and the elders and priests and residue of the people of the Jews, our brethren, send greeting. Right, so the Lacedaemonians, the Spartans knew who they were. We covered that last week. They knew that they was Israelites. The ambassadors that were sent unto our people certified us of your glory and honor. Wherefore we are glad of their coming, and did register the things that they spake in the council of the people in this manner. Numenius, son of Antiochus, and Antipater, son of Jason, the Jews' ambassadors, came to us to renew the friendship they had with us. And it pleased the people to entertain the men honorably, and to put the copy of their ambassage in public records, to the end the people of the Lacedaemonians might have a memorial thereof. Furthermore, we have written a copy thereof unto Simon the high priest. All right, so they said, look, we just want to make it clear that we are allies. They don't know what kind of man Simon is necessarily. They're trying to figure out, hey, look, you still want to be peaceful with us? You still want to keep the treaty? Because we still want to keep the treaty. All right. After this, Simon sent Numenius to Rome with a great shield of gold and 1,000-pound weight to confirm the league with them. You see that right there. So these ambassadors he's sending around, he said, not only make your stop in Sparta, make your stop in Rome as well to confirm these treaties that we have with these peoples. All right. Let that sink in though. A shield of gold of 1,000-pound weight. This isn't all the gold that they got, by the way. This is just what we had to make the shield. We just threw this together. As it said up here that he made vessels in the temple, right? He where does it say that? He multiplied vessels of the temple. So they had plenty of gold, and this is just 1,000-pound weight of it that they sent to Rome. Whereof, this is just a gift, so you can understand. Whereof, when the people heard, they said, what thanks shall we give to Simon and his sons? They said, look, dang, this is a wonderful thing. For he and his brethren in the house of his father have established Israel, and chased away and fight their enemies from them, and confirmed their liberty. So then they wrote it in tables of brass, which they set upon pillars in Mount Zion. And this is the copy of the writing, the 18th day of the month Elul, in the 172nd year. That's 160 and 12th, 103 score and 12th year, 172nd year, being the third year of Simon the high priest. At Saramel, in the great congregation of the priests and people and rulers of the nation and elders of the country, were these things notified unto us. Right. So the tables in brass. Once Rome signified this, the tables of brass, and sent it back to Jerusalem, they set them up on pillars in Mount Zion so that everybody can know, hey, look, we got a league with Rome. All right. For as much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary and the law, Simon the son of Mattathias of the posterity of Jarib, together with his brethren, put themselves in jeopardy, and resisting the enemies of their nation, did their nation great honor. For after that, Jonathan, having gathered his nation together and been their high priest, was added to his people, meaning he died. Their enemies prepared to invade their country, that they might destroy it and lay hands on the sanctuary. At which time Simon rose up and fought for his nation, and spent much of his own substance, and armed the valiant men of his nation, and gave them wages, and fortified the cities of Judea, together with Bethsura, that lieth upon the borders of Judea, where the armor of the enemies had been before. But he set a garrison of Jews there. Moreover, he fortified Joppa, which lieth upon the sea, and Gezerah, that bordereth upon Azotus. Azotus being Ashdod. So we know Gezerah must be close to Ashdod. All right. Because that's what Azotus is. Azotus is Ashdod. All right. Bordereth upon Azotus, where the enemies had dwelt before, but he placed Jews there, and furnished them with all things convenient for the reparation thereof. The people, therefore, sang the acts of Simon, and unto what glory he thought to bring his nation, made him their governor and chief priest, because he had done all these things, and for the justice and faith which he kept to his nation, and for that he sought by all means to exalt his people. For in his time things prospered in his hands, so that the heathen were taken out of their country, And they also that were in the city of David in Jerusalem, who had made themselves a tower, out of which they issued, and polluted all about the sanctuary, and did much hurt in the holy place. All right. But he placed Jews therein, and fortified it for the safety of the country and the city, and raised up the walls of Jerusalem. All right, so they're singing Simon's praise here. He's done wonderful things for the people, and everybody's recognizing him for it. All right, King Demetrius also confirmed him in the high priesthood according to those things, and made him one of his friends, and honored him with great honor. For he had heard say that the Romans had called the Jews their friends and confederates and brethren, and that they had entertained the ambassadors of Simon honorably. Also that the Jews and priests were well pleased that Simon should be their governor and high priest forever, until there should arise a faithful prophet. Moreover, that he should be their captain, and should take charge of the sanctuary, to set them over their works, and over the country, and over the armor, and over the fortresses, that I say he should take charge of the sanctuary. So even Demetrius heard this and had to recognize it. Beside this, that he should be obeyed of every man, and that all the writings in the country should be made in his name, and that he should be clothed in purple and wear gold, right, royal apparel. Also that it should be lawful for none of the people or priests to break any of these things, or to gainsay his words, or to gather an assembly in the country without him, or to be clothed in purple or wear a buckle of gold. So nobody can wear purple or gold except for Simon. All right. And whosoever should do otherwise or break any of these things, he should be punished. Thus it liked all the people to deal with Simon, and to do as hath been said. Then Simon accepted hereof, and was well pleased to be high priest, and captain and governor of the Jews and priests, and to defend them all. So they commanded that this writing should be put in tables of brass, and that they should be set up within the compass of the sanctuary in a conspicuous place, right? Conspicuous meaning not hidden. All right, so that's what they did. They put it on pillars in Mount Zion, so that everybody could see the tablets of brass that had confirmed these things. And it's important that it was done in brass, because you could take a piece of paper and you might be able to rip it up. You might just mark some things out and write something new. But to put it in brass, you got to chisel it in that thing. It's got to be engraven. It's in there. All right, ain't nothing you can do about it unless you just take the brass. All right. Also that the copies thereof should be laid up in the sanctuary, to the end that Simon and his sons might have them, and to make copies of it. All right, that's what the Jews always did. All right, that's why we even have a Bible today, is because the Jews wrote copies upon copies upon copies upon copies, so that when the Babylonians came, and when the Greeks came, and when the Romans eventually came against us, that they couldn't get rid of the word of God. All right. But anyway, copies upon copies made to signify Simon and this high priesthood. All right. Moreover, Antiochus, son of Demetrius, the king, sent letters from the isles of the sea unto Simon the priest and prince of the Jews, and to all the people. The contents whereof were these: King Antiochus to Simon the priest and prince of his nation, and to the people of the Jews, greeting. For as much as certain pestilent men have usurped the kingdom of our fathers, and my purpose is to challenge it again, that I may restore it to the old estate, and to that end have gathered a multitude of foreign soldiers together and prepared ships of war. So the hypocrisy here: Demetrius was not of the lineage of Alexander, or of he could have been of a Seleucid lineage, but they were usurpers as well. All right. The hypocrisy there, man. He said, look, I'm trying to bring it back to what it was. He's like, I'm making Greece great again. All right. My meaning also being to go through the country, that I may be avenged of them that have destroyed it, and made many cities in the kingdom desolate. Now therefore I confirm unto thee all the oblations which the king before me granted thee, and whatsoever gifts besides they granted. I give thee leave also to coin money for thy country with thine own stamp. And there is actually archaeological evidence of these Hasmonean coins, some may call them, Maccabean coins. Even though the name Hasmonean, you also see to refer to the Maccabean family, comes from Simon Thassi. All right. That's so sometimes you may see Hasmonean coins with menorahs on them and things like that. That's what they made around this time. And as concerning Jerusalem and the sanctuary, let them be free. And all the armor that thou hast made, and fortresses that thou hast built, and keepest in thine hands, let them remain unto thee. He's like, look, I'm not going to try to take any of your land or anything like that, and y'all going to be free. As long as I'm in rulership, y'all going to be free. And if anything be, or shall be, owing to the king, let it be forgiven thee from this time forth forevermore. Furthermore, when we have obtained our kingdom, we will honor thee in thy nation and thy temple with great honor, so that your honor shall be known throughout the world. It was already known throughout the world. They didn't need Antiochus' help. All right. In the 174th year, went Antiochus into the land of his fathers, at which time all the forces came together unto him, so that few were left with Tryphon. Right. Everybody getting sick of this Diodotus Tryphon. They know he's wicked. Wherefore, being pursued by King Antiochus, he fled into Dora, which lieth by the seaside. For he saw that troubles came upon him all at once, and that his forces had forsaken him. Then camped Antiochus against Dora, having with him 120,000 men of war and 8,000 horsemen. Right, so no small military there. Do we see Dora anywhere on here? Dora may be north of Israel. I'm not. No, here it is. Here it is. Right here up at the top. I was about to say, I don't know where my mouse is, but here it is right here. There's Dora. All right. North of Samaria. It's actually south of Carmel though. So not quite. It's like northwest of the city of Samaria, but south of Carmel. All right. Verse 14. And when he had compassed the city round about and joined ships close to the town on the seaside, he vexed the city by land and by sea. Neither suffered he any to go out or in. Right? A siege. Nobody can come in or out in a siege. In the mean season came Numenius and his company from Rome. Right? So this was the winter when Numenius came back from Rome, having letters to the kings and countries wherein were written these things. Lucius, consul of the Romans, unto King Ptolemy, greeting. The Jews' ambassadors, our friends and confederates, came unto us to renew the old friendship and league, being sent from Simon the high priest and from the people of the Jews. And they brought a shield of gold of 1,000 pounds. We thought it good, therefore, to write unto the kings and countries that they should do them no harm, nor fight against them, their cities or countries, nor yet aid their enemies against them. It seemed also good to us to receive the shield of them. If therefore there be any pestilent fellows that have fled from their country unto you, deliver them unto Simon the high priest, that he may punish them according to their own law. The same things wrote he likewise unto Demetrius the king, and Attalus to... forgive me for this name. This is Ariarathus and Arsaces, right? So to all the so it's about to list a whole bunch of other countries that they that the Romans wrote like this letter to. But I've said it before, but I'll say it again, that all these things that firstly Judas Maccabeus did, but then also Simon. Or not Simon, Jonathan did. But now we're reading about what Simon did. All this led to Judea becoming a Roman province and there being peace in the land during the days of our Messiah. All right. So to understand the history behind and the political landscape during the time of Christ, you must read the books of the Maccabees. Specifically, First Maccabees goes into all this political history. All right. Second Maccabees goes into more detail about how Judas led the people into battle. And it goes more into detail about, the wonderful things seen in those battles. I'm talking about the appearance of angels and things like that. But First Maccabees goes more into the political history. All right. So all these countries, and to all the countries, and to Sampsames and the Lacedaemonians, and to Delos and to Mendus and Sicyon, Caria, Samos, Pamphylia, Lycia, Halicarnassus, Rhodus, Aradus, Cos, Cide, Aradus, Gortina, Sinitis, and Cyprus and Cyrene. All right, so Cyrene is Libya. Cyprus, I don't know what all these are. Probably just like Greek areas. I know Rhodes is Rhodes in Greek. Lacedaemonians is obviously Sparta. But Cyprus is an island over there in the Mediterranean, and Cyrene is Libya. And the copy hereof they wrote to Simon the high priest. So Antiochus the king camped against Dora the second day, assaulting it continually and making engines, by which means he shut up Tryphon, that he could neither go out nor in. At that time Simon sent him 2,000 chosen men to aid him, silver also and gold and much armor. They said, hey, look, we don't like the Tryphon guy either. We'll help you out. We'll help you out, Antiochus. Nevertheless, he would not receive them, but break all the covenants which he had made with him afore, and became strange unto him. Oh, excuse me. So Simon sent to help Tryphon, because there was a league that he wanted to uphold, even though Tryphon had been wicked. Nevertheless, he would not receive them, but break all the covenants which he had made with them afore, and became stranger to him. Furthermore, he sent unto him Athenobius, one of his friends, to commune with him and say, ye withhold Joppa and Gezerah with the tower that is in Jerusalem, which are cities of my realm. Right? Tryphon just being ridiculous. All right. The borders thereof ye have wasted and done great hurt in the land, and got the dominion of many places within my kingdom. Now therefore deliver the cities which ye have taken, and the tributes of the places whereof ye have gotten dominion without the borders of Judea. Or else give me for them 500 talents of silver, and for the harm that ye have done, and the tributes of the cities, other 500 talents. If not, we will come and fight against you. So Athenobius, the king's friend, came to Jerusalem, and when he saw the glory of Simon, and the cupboard of gold and silver plate, and his great attendance, he was astonished, and told him the king's message. The pride here is crazy. To go to people who's trying to help you out and be like, oh, you actually owe me this, that, and the third. Like, man, what? Then answered Simon and said unto him, we have neither taken other men's land, nor holden that which appertaineth to others, but the inheritance of our fathers, which our enemies had wrongfully in possession a certain time. Wherefore we, having opportunity, hold the inheritance of hold the inheritance of our fathers. And whereas thou demandest Joppa and Gezerah, albeit they did great harm unto the people in our country, yet will we give thee 100 talents for them. Hereunto Athenobius answered him not a word, but returned in a rage to the king, and made report unto him of these speeches, and of the glory of Simon, and of all that he had seen. Whereupon the king was exceeding wroth. In the meantime fled Tryphon by ship unto Orthosius. All right, so this is crazy. This is insane that Simon even entertained this. It was like, look, we'll give you 100 talents for them. We're not going to give you the 500 talents that you was talking about. We'll give you 100 talents for them 2 cities over there. And the king made Cendebeus captain of the seacoast, and gave him a host of footmen and horsemen, and commanded him to remove his host toward Judea. Also he commanded him to build up Cedron, and to fortify the gates, and to war against the people. But as for the king himself, he pursued Tryphon. So yeah, maybe I am tripping. Maybe I'm tripping, and this is talking about Antiochus. I don't know why. Well, because he's a wicked Greek. And he's the son of Demetrius, and Demetrius was just like this. So yeah, it actually makes sense that this is Antiochus. But I mean, it doesn't make sense why he would flip like that. It's just that's how wicked the Greeks were, I guess. Yeah. So this is actually Antiochus. My apologies. The way it's worded is kind of confusing, but that's on me. So Cendebeus came to Jamnia and began to provoke the people and to invade Judea, and to take the people prisoners and slay them. And when he had built up Cedru, he set horsemen there and a host of footmen, to the end that eschewing out they might make outroads upon the ways of Judea, as the king had commanded him. Right. So do we see Cedru anywhere? Cedru. I don't just offhand see that Cedru. Cedrou. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it right now. The name looked familiar though. Maybe it's just because I've read it before. Yeah, I'm not saying it on here. But anyway, that wicked Antiochus, man. That name was always meant some evil Greeks towards our people, man. Then came up John from Gezerah and told Simon his father what Syndebius had done. Wherefore Simon called his two eldest sons, Judas and John, and said unto them, I and my brethren in my father's house have ever from my youth unto this day fought against the enemies of Israel. And things have prospered so well in our hands, that we have delivered Israel oftentimes. But now I'm old, and ye, by God's mercy, are of a sufficient age. But be ye instead of me and my brother, and go and fight for our nation, and the help from heaven be with you. So he chose out of the country 20,000 men of war with horsemen, who went out against Syndebius, and rested that night at Modin. And when as they rose in the morning and went into the plain, behold, a mighty great host, both of footmen and horsemen, came against them. Howbeit, there was a water brook betwixt them. So he and his people pitched over against them. And when he saw that the people were afraid to go over the water brook, he went first over himself. And then the men, seeing him, passed through after him. That done, he divided his men, and set the horsemen in the midst of the footmen, for the enemy's horsemen were very many. All right, so this is John. He's talking about John leading the people. All right. Enemy's horsemen were very many. Then sounded they with the holy trumpets, whereupon Syndebius and his host were put to flight, so that many of them were slain, and the remnant gat them to the stronghold. At that time was Judas, John's brother, wounded. But John still followed after them until he came to Cedron, which Syndebius had built. He built Cedron. This may be the same as the brook Kidron. That's the brook Kishon. I don't see Kidron anywhere on here, though. One of these down here is Kidron. Maybe, no, here it is right here. The brook Kidron. It's spelled different, so it may be different, but I think that's what it is right there, just so we can see here. The brook Kidron is over south of Jerusalem in Judah. All right. Let's go back. Let's go back to it. Until he came to Kidron, which Syndebius had built. So they fled even unto the towers in the field of Azotus. Right, so it's probably over there towards the coast then. Wherefore he burned it with fire, so that there were slain of them about 2,000 men. Afterward he returned into the land of Judea in peace. Right, so John Hyrcanus was a very mighty man when it come to war. All right. Moreover, in the plain of Jericho was Ptolemaeus, the son of Abubus, made captain. And he had abundance of silver and gold. For he was the high priest's son-in-law. Wherefore, his heart being lifted up, he thought to get the country to himself. How familiar does that sound? Sound like that wicked Menelaus? Sound like that wicked Simon the Benjamite? All right. And like Jason. All right. That wicked wretch. All right. And thereupon consulted deceitfully against Simon and his sons to destroy them. Now Simon was visiting the cities that were in the country and taking care for the good ordering of them. At which time he came down himself to Jericho with his sons, Mattathias and Judas, in the 177th year, in the 11th month, called Sabbat, where the son of Abubus, receiving them deceitfully into a little hold called Dacus, which he had built, made them a great banquet. Howbeit, he had hid men there. So when Simon and his sons had drunk largely, Ptolemy and his men rose up and took their weapons and came upon Simon into the banqueting place and slew him and his two sons and certain of his servants, in which doing he committed a great treachery and recompensed evil for good. Yeah, so Simon gave this man his daughter, and this is how he repays him. All right. Then Ptolemy wrote these things and sent to the king that he should send him an host to aid him, and he would deliver him the country and cities. He sent others also to Gazera to kill John. And unto the tribunes he sent letters to come unto him, that he might give them silver and gold and rewards. And others he sent to take Jerusalem and the mountain of the temple. Now one had run afore to Gazera, and told John that his father and brethren were slain, and quoth he, Ptolemy had sent to slay thee also. Hereof, when he heard, he was sore astonished. So he laid hands on them that were come to destroy him, or he was beating them up. They were come to destroy him and slew them, for he knew that they sought to make him away. As concerning the rest of the acts of John and his wars and worthy deeds which he did, and the building of the walls which he made, and his doings, behold, these are written in the chronicles of his priesthood from the time he was made high priest after his father. And unfortunately, we don't have the chronicles of the priesthood. All right, we don't have that. This is, unfortunately, is where the story ends. All right, next week we'll see if we can't try to fill in the gaps. I'll put it like that. We'll see if we can't try to fill in the gaps with some historical references and try to transition into talking about Rome.